The clock on the wall showed 11:47 p.m. as Rosa Martinez pushed her cleaning cart through the empty hallways of the Grand Metropolitan Hotel. Her shift had started at 6 p.m., and she still had 3 more hours to go. The fancy charity gala had ended just an hour ago, and now it was her job to clean up the mess that rich people always left behind. Rosa had been working at this hotel for almost 8 years now. She knew every corner, every room, and every stain that was impossible to remove. At 42, she had gotten used to being invisible. Guests would walk past her as if she didn't exist. They would drop their trash right next to her and not even say sorry, but Rosa didn't mind anymore. This job paid her bills and helped her send money back home to her elderly mother in Guatemala. Tonight was different, though. The ballroom still had that grand piano sitting right in the middle of the stage. Usually, the event company would come and take it away immediately after the show. But here it was, all shiny and beautiful under the dim lights. Rosa had seen many pianos in this hotel, but something about this one made her stop and stare. She remembered when she was 7 years old, living in a small village outside Guatemala City. Her grandmother had an old, broken piano that barely made any sound. But every evening, her grandmother would sit on that wobbly bench and play simple songs. Rosa would sit beside her, watching those wrinkled fingers dance across the yellow keys. Her grandmother would say, "Music lives in your heart, little one. You don't need fancy things to make it come alive." Rosa shook her head and got back to work. She had bills to pay, and daydreaming wouldn't help with that. She started picking up the empty wine glasses and crumpled napkins from the tables. The ballroom was huge, and it would take her at least 2 hours to clean everything properly. As she worked, Rosa kept glancing at the piano. It seemed to be calling her. She tried to focus on her cleaning, but her eyes kept drifting back to those black and white keys. Finally, she couldn't resist anymore. She looked around to make sure no one was watching, then walked slowly toward the stage. The piano was even more beautiful up close. It was a Steinway. She could see the gold letters on the front. Rosa had never seen anything so perfect. She ran her fingers along the smooth wood, feeling its coolness. Then, very carefully, she pressed one key. The sound was so clear and rich that it made her heart skip a beat. Before she knew it, Rosa was sitting on the piano bench. Her hands were shaking a little as she placed them on the keys. She tried to remember the simple melody her grandmother had taught her all those years ago. It was called Estrellita, Little Star. Her fingers were clumsy at first, but slowly the melody started to come back to her. The music filled the empty ballroom, and for a moment Rosa forgot where she was. She forgot about the dirty dishes in the kitchen, the floors that needed mopping, and the beds that needed fresh sheets. She was 7 years old again, sitting next to her grandmother, feeling the magic of music for the first time. What Rosa didn't know was that someone was listening. Dr. Alexander Petrov, one of the most famous pianists in the world, had performed at the charity gala that evening. He was supposed to leave right after his performance, but he had forgotten his special sheet music in the green room. He was walking back to get it when he heard the gentle melody floating through the halls. Alexander stopped in his tracks. He had been playing piano for over 30 years, and he could tell the difference between someone who had studied for years and someone who was playing from the heart. This person, whoever they were, was definitely playing from the heart. He followed the sound until he reached the ballroom. What he saw made him smile. There was a woman in a hotel uniform, completely lost in her music. She was playing a simple Mexican folk song, but there was something about the way she played it that touched his soul. Her technique was rough, sure, but her feeling was pure. Alexander watched for a few minutes, not wanting to disturb her. He could see that she was in her own world, and it was beautiful to watch. But then Rosa hit a wrong note and stopped playing. She looked around nervously, as if she had just realized what she was doing. "Please, don't stop," Alexander said gently as he walked into the ballroom. "That was beautiful." Rosa jumped up from the piano bench so fast that she almost fell over. Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, sir. I wasn't supposed to touch anything. I was just cleaning and I'm really sorry." Alexander held up his hand with a kind smile. No, no, please don't apologize. I'm Alexander Petrov. I played here tonight at the gala. He could see that Rosa didn't recognize him, which was actually refreshing. What's your name? Rosa Martinez, she said quietly, still looking embarrassed. I work here. I clean the rooms. And halls, I wasn't trying to break anything, I promise. You didn't break anything, Alexander said, walking closer to the piano. Where did you learn to play like that? Rosa looked surprised. I don't really know how to play. My grandmother taught me one song when I was little, but that was a long time ago. Alexander was amazed. Just one song? But you played it with such feeling. Have you ever taken lessons? Rosa shook her head. We didn't have money for that kind of thing. My family was very poor. There was something in Rosa's voice that made Alexander's heart ache. He had grown up in a wealthy family in Russia, where piano lessons were just a normal part of life. He had never thought about all the people who loved music, but never got the chance to learn it properly. Would you like to try playing something with me? Alexander asked suddenly. Just for fun? Rosa's eyes went wide. With you? But you're a real pianist. I saw your picture in the hotel magazine. You're famous, Alexander laughed. Famous or not, I'm just someone who loves music. And I can tell you love it too. Come on, what do you say? Just one song. Rosa looked at the piano, then at Alexander, then back at the piano. Part of her wanted to run away and finish her cleaning. But another part of her, the part that still remembered her grandmother's gentle voice, wanted to stay. I don't know if I can, Rosa said softly. There's no pressure, Alexander said, sitting down on the piano bench. Music is supposed to be fun, and I have a feeling you might surprise yourself. Rosa stood there for a moment, fighting with herself. Finally, she took a deep breath and sat down next to Alexander. Her hands were shaking, but she placed them on the keys. What would you like to play? Alexander asked. The only song I know, Rosa said with a small smile. The one my grandmother taught me? Alexander nodded. Show me. And so, in that empty ballroom at almost midnight, a world-famous pianist and a hotel housekeeper began to make music together. Neither of them knew that this moment would change both of their lives forever. Rosa's hands were still shaking as she placed them on the piano keys. She couldn't believe she was sitting next to one of the world's most famous pianists. Alexander sat quietly beside her, waiting patiently for her to begin. The ballroom felt huge and empty around them, but somehow the piano made everything feel smaller and more intimate. Take your time, Alexander said softly. There's no rush. Rosa closed her eyes and tried to remember her grandmother's voice. Breathe, little one. Let the music flow through you like water. She could almost smell her grandmother's perfume. And feel her gentle hand guiding her fingers. Slowly, Rosa began to play a strelita. The notes came out hesitant at first, but as she relaxed, the melody grew stronger. She played the way her grandmother had taught her, with her heart, not just her fingers. Some notes were wrong and her timing wasn't perfect, but there was something beautiful about the way she played. Alexander listened carefully. He had heard this song before, but never like this. Rosa played it with such genuine emotion that it gave him goosebumps. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. That was wonderful, he said finally. Your grandmother must have been a special woman. Rosa smiled sadly. She died when I was 12. But I still remember everything she taught me about music. She used to say that music doesn't come from your fingers, it comes from your soul. Alexander nodded. She was very wise. In all my years of studying and performing, I've met many technically perfect pianists who never learned that lesson. But you play so beautifully, Rosa said. I heard you tonight at the gala. It was like magic. Thank you, Alexander said. But technique without feeling is just showing off? What you just played had more heart than many concerts I've attended. Rosa couldn't believe what she was hearing. This famous musician was actually complimenting her simple playing. I wish I could play like you, she said quietly. Maybe we could play together? Alexander suggested. I could play harmony while you play your melody. Rosa's eyes went wide. You want to play with me? But I don't know how to do harmony or any of those fancy things. Alexander smiled. Don't worry about fancy things. Just play your song the way you always do. I'll follow along. Rosa took a deep breath and started playing Estrellida again. This time, after a few notes, Alexander joined in. His left hand played gentle chords that supported her melody, while his right hand added delicate flourishes that made her simple. Songs sound like a professional arrangement. The music filled the ballroom with warmth and beauty. Rosa had never experienced anything like this before. Playing alone was nice, but playing with Alexander made her feel like she was flying. The piano seemed to sing under their four hands, creating harmony she had never dreamed possible. What neither of them noticed was that Miguel Santos, the hotel's night manager, had come to check on the ballroom. He had heard the music from his office and came to investigate. When he saw Rosa playing with the famous pianist, he couldn't believe his eyes. Miguel had worked at the hotel for 15 years, and he had never seen anything like this. He knew Rosa well. She was one of their most hardworking employees. But he had no idea she could play piano. And here she was, making beautiful music with a world-renowned artist. Without thinking, Miguel quietly took out his phone and started recording. He didn't plan to share it with anyone. He just wanted to capture this amazing moment. The music was so beautiful that he felt like he was watching something magical happen. As Rosa and Alexander played, something incredible was happening between them. Alexander realized that Rosa had a natural gift for music that couldn't be taught. In any conservatory, she understood rhythm instinctively, and she could feel when to slow down or speed up without any formal training. Most importantly, she played with pure emotion, something that many trained musicians struggled to achieve. Rosa, on the other hand, felt like she was discovering a part of herself she never knew existed. Playing with Alexander showed her what music could really be. Every note seemed to sparkle, and she could feel the music connecting her to something bigger than herself. When they finished the song, both of them sat in silence for a moment. The ballroom seemed to echo with the memory of their music. That was incredible, Alexander said, and Rosa could hear the genuine amazement in his voice. I've never experienced anything quite like that. Rosa felt tears forming in her eyes. I can't believe I just did that. It felt like my grandmother was right there with us. Tell me more about her, Alexander said gently. Rosa wiped her eyes and smiled. Her name was Carmen. She came from a very poor family in Guatemala, but she always found ways to make music. She couldn't read notes or anything, but she could play anything by ear. She used to tell me that music was God's gift to help people through hard times. She sounds wonderful, Alexander said, and she was right about music being a gift. But, Rosa, I want you to know that you have that gift too. What you just did, playing with such feeling and intuition, that's something special. Rosa shook her head. I'm just a cleaning lady. I don't know anything about real music. Real music isn't about fancy degrees or perfect technique, Alexander said firmly. It's about what you just did. It's about touching people's hearts, and you did that tonight. Just then Miguel stepped forward. Both Rosa and Alexander looked up, surprised to see him there. I'm sorry to interrupt, Miguel said, looking a bit embarrassed. I heard the music and came to check. Rosa, I had no idea you could play like that. Rosa's face turned red. I'm sorry, Mr. Santos. I know I shouldn't have been playing the piano. I was just cleaning and ... No. Miguel said quickly, you don't need to apologize. That was beautiful. I've never heard anything like it in all my years working here. Alexander stood up and extended his hand to Miguel. I'm Alexander Petrov. I performed here tonight. I know who you are, sir, Miguel said, shaking his hand. It's an honor to meet you, and what you two just did, it was magical. Miguel hesitated for a moment, then showed them his phone. I hope you don't mind, but I recorded part of it. I've never seen anything so beautiful in this hotel. Rosa looked worried. You're not going to get me in trouble, are you? Miguel laughed. Trouble? Rosa, this is the most amazing thing that's ever happened in this ballroom. You should be proud of yourself. Alexander looked at the phone, then at Rosa. Miguel, would it be okay if we heard it? Miguel played back the recording. The sound quality wasn't perfect, but the beauty of their music came through clearly. Rosa listened in amazement. She couldn't believe that was really her playing. "This is incredible," Alexander said. "Rosa, people need to hear this. This is what music is supposed to be about." Rosa felt overwhelmed. Everything was happening so fast. 2 hours ago, she was just cleaning tables, and now she was being told that her music was something special. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Alexander put his hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to say anything. Just know that tonight you reminded me why I fell in love with music in the first place." As the three of them stood there in the empty ballroom, none of them could have imagined that Miguel's simple recording would soon change Rosa's life forever. Miguel couldn't stop thinking about what he had witnessed that night. The next morning, as he sat in his small apartment having coffee, he kept replaying the video on his phone. Every time he watched it, he got the same feeling, like he had seen something truly special. His wife, Isabella, noticed he was distracted. "You've been staring at that phone all morning," she said, sitting down next to him. "What's so interesting?" Miguel showed her the video. "You remember Rosa, the cleaning lady I told you about? The one who's been working so hard to support her family?" Isabella nodded. She had met Rosa a few times when she visited Miguel at work. She always thought Rosa was a sweet, hard-working woman who deserved better things in life. "Watch this," Miguel sighed. Pressing play as the video played, Isabella's eyes grew wide. The music was beautiful, but what really struck her was the joy on Rosa's face. You could see that she was completely lost in the music, and the famous pianist beside her looked genuinely amazed by what he was hearing. "This is incredible," Isabella whispered. "Rosa can really play like that?" "I couldn't believe it either," Miguel said. "She told me she only knew one song, but the way she played it, it was like listening to her heart sing." Isabella watched the video again. "Miguel, people need to see this. This is the kind of story that gives people hope." Miguel hesitated. "I don't know. I don't want to embarrass Rosa or get her in trouble at work." "This wouldn't embarrass her," Isabella said firmly. "This would show the world how talented she is. And look at her face. She's not embarrassed. She's happy, really happy." That afternoon, Miguel decided to take a chance. He posted the video on his Facebook page with a simple caption: "Our hotel cleaning lady Rosa and world-famous pianist Alexander Petrov creating something beautiful together." Sometimes magic happens when you least expect it. At first, only a few of Miguel's friends and family saw the post. But then something amazing started happening. His cousin shared it, then his cousin's friends shared it, and soon the video was spreading across social media like wildfire. Rosa had no idea any of this was happening. She was at work, cleaning rooms, and trying to process what had happened the night before. Part of her wondered if she had dreamed the whole thing. Had she really played piano with Alexander Petrov? It seemed too incredible to be true. Around 3 p.m., her phone started buzzing with notifications. Rosa didn't use social media much, but her daughter, Carmen, had tagged her in something on Facebook. When Rosa opened the app, she couldn't believe what she saw. The video of her playing piano had thousands of views, hundreds of comments, and was being shared every few minutes. People from all over the world were writing messages about how the music had touched their hearts. "This made me cry tears of joy," wrote someone from Brazil. "This is what music is supposed to be about," commented a person from Canada. "She plays with more soul than most professional musicians," said another comment. Rosa felt overwhelmed. She had never imagined that so many people would see her playing. She wasn't sure if she should be happy or terrified. Her phone rang. It was her daughter, Carmen, calling from Los Angeles, where she worked as a nurse. "Mom, are you okay?" Carmen asked excitedly. "I just saw the video. You're everywhere on social media." "I don't understand what's happening," Rosa said, feeling confused. "I was just playing piano for a few minutes last night." "Mom, you're going viral. Everyone is talking about you. They're calling you the hotel piano lady and saying your music is inspiring." Rosa didn't even know what going viral meant, but she could tell from Carmen's voice that it was something big. By evening, The video had reached 50,000 views. News websites started picking up the story. A reporter from the local TV station called the hotel asking to speak with Rosa. The hotel's main phone line was ringing constantly with interview requests. Alexander Petrov was in his hotel room in New York when his manager called him. "Alexander, have you seen what's happening online?" His manager asked. "What do you mean?" Alexander replied. "That video of you playing with the hotel worker in Chicago, it's everywhere. Every news outlet is talking about it. People are saying it's the most beautiful thing they've ever seen." Alexander quickly went online and found the video. He watched it several times, amazed by how it had captured the pure joy and connection he had felt that night. Reading the comments, he could see that people around the world were being moved by Rosa's story. One comment particularly caught his attention. "This woman has more musical talent in her pinky finger than most people who go to fancy music schools. Someone should give her a chance to learn properly." Alexander realized that this viral moment was more than just entertainment. It was an opportunity to highlight something important about music and talent. Meanwhile, Rosa was struggling with all the attention. Her phone hadn't stopped ringing, and she was getting friend requests from hundreds of strangers. Some of the comments were wonderful, but others were not so kind. "She's just a cleaning lady trying to get attention," wrote one person. "This is so fake. No one plays that well without training," commented another. "She doesn't deserve all this fame just for pressing some piano keys," said a particularly mean comment. Rosa felt hurt by the negative comments. She had never asked for any of this attention. She just wanted to play piano and do her job, her supervisor. At the hotel, Mrs. Peterson called her into the office the next day. "Rosa, I need to talk to you about this video situation," Mrs. Peterson said seriously. Rosa's heart sank. She thought she was going to be fired for playing the piano when she should have been cleaning. "I want you to know that the hotel management is very proud of you," Mrs. Peterson continued, and Rosa felt relief wash over her. "This video is bringing positive attention to our hotel. We've had dozens of calls from people wanting to book rooms just because of your story." Rosa couldn't believe it. Instead of getting in trouble, she was actually helping the hotel. "However," Mrs. Peterson continued, "you're going to need to decide what you want to do about all these interview requests. The hotel will support whatever you choose." That evening, Rosa sat in her small apartment, feeling completely overwhelmed. Her phone was still buzzing with notifications, and she had 17 voicemail messages from reporters and TV shows. Her neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, knocked on her door. "Rosa, I saw you on the news. They're saying you might be on national television." Rosa felt dizzy. National television? She had never even been on local television. "I don't know what to do," Rosa told Mrs. Garcia. "I'm just a cleaning lady. I don't know how to handle all this attention." Mrs. Garcia sat down beside her. "Rosa, you're not just anything. You're a talented woman who touched millions of people with your music. Maybe this is God's way of opening new doors for you." That night, Rosa couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her grandmother Carmen, who had always believed that music was a gift meant to be shared. She wondered what her grandmother would say. About all this. Around midnight, Rosa got a text message from an unknown number. "Hi, Rosa, this is Alexander Petrov. I hope you don't mind that I got your number from Miguel. I've been watching what's happening online and I wanted to talk to you about some possibilities. Would you be interested in meeting for a coffee tomorrow? I think this viral moment could be the beginning of something wonderful for you." Rosa stared at the message for a long time. She realized that her life had changed forever that night in the ballroom, and there was no going back to the way things were before. Rosa's hands were shaking as she read Alexander's text message for the 10th time. Meet with him? The famous pianist wanted to meet with her? She didn't know if she was ready for this, but something deep inside her whispered that she should take the chance. The next morning, Rosa put on her best dress and met Alexander at a quiet coffee shop near the hotel. She felt nervous and out of place, but Alexander's warm smile made her feel a little better. "Rosa, I've been thinking about our conversation and watching people's reactions to the video," Alexander said as they sat down with their coffee. believe you have a real gift. And I want to help you develop it. Rosa looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, I want to teach you, Alexander said simply. I want to give you proper piano lessons. Free of charge. Rosa nearly choked on her coffee. You want to teach me? But I'm nobody special. I just clean hotels. Alexander leaned forward. Rosa, in 30 years of playing piano, I've met thousands of musicians. Most of them can play the notes perfectly, but very few can touch people's hearts the way you did that night. That's not something you can learn in school. That's a gift. But I don't have money for lessons, Rosa said quietly. And I have to work. I can't afford to take time off. That's what I want to talk to you about, Alexander said. I've been in touch with the Harmony Foundation. They're a music education charity, and they want to sponsor your lessons. They'll cover everything, lessons, books, even help with your living expenses so you can work fewer hours. Rosa felt overwhelmed. Why would they do that for me? Because your story has inspired millions of people, Alexander explained. You've shown the world that musical talent exists everywhere, not just in wealthy families who can afford expensive lessons. The foundation wants to support that message. Rosa was quiet for a long time. Part of her was excited, but another part was terrified. What if I'm not good enough? What if I disappoint everyone? Alexander reached across the table and touched her hand gently. Rosa, you could never disappoint anyone. You've already given the world something beautiful. Everything else is just extra. After thinking about it for 3 days, Rosa finally said yes. The next week, she started taking piano lessons with Alexander 3 times a week. At first, it was harder than she expected. No, your fingers need to be curved like this, Alexander would say patiently as Rosa struggled with basic hand position. And remember to use your wrist, not just your fingers. Rosa felt frustrated. When she played from her heart, everything felt natural. But learning proper technique was like learning a new language. Her fingers felt clumsy and stupid on the keys. I can't do this, Rosa said one afternoon after a particularly difficult lesson. Maybe I should just go back to cleaning. At least, I was good at that. Alexander sat down beside her on the piano bench. Rosa, do you remember what your grandmother told you about music coming from the soul? Rosa nodded. Well, think of technique as giving your soul better tools to express itself, Alexander said. Right now, your soul is trying to speak through. A broken telephone, we're just fixing the telephone. Slowly, Rosa began to understand. The scales and exercises that seemed so boring were actually helping her fingers say what her heart wanted to express. After 2 months of lessons, she could play simple classical pieces, and her beloved Estrellita sounded richer and more beautiful than ever, but the lessons weren't the only challenge Rosa faced. The attention from the viral video continued to grow. She was invited to appear on 3 different TV shows, and a major newspaper wanted to write a feature story about her. Some people at the hotel were supportive, but others weren't so kind. Look at Rosa thinking she's famous now, she overheard one coworker say. She's too good to eat lunch with us anymore. This hurt Rosa deeply. She had never thought she was better than anyone else. She still did her cleaning work, though she had reduced her hours to part-time. She still lived in the same small apartment and shopped at the same grocery store. Her old friend, Linda from the housekeeping department, stopped talking to her completely. You're living in a dream world, Linda told her one day. You think you're going to become some big star? You're 42 years old, Rosa. Be realistic. These words stung because Rosa had the same fears. Was she being foolish? Was she too old to start something new? The criticism got worse when a classical music blogger wrote a harsh article about her. Rosa Martinez represents everything wrong with our culture's obsession with viral fame, the article said. She has no formal training, no musical education, and no business performing alongside serious musicians. Her 15 minutes of fame are an insult to classically trained artists who have dedicated their lives to their craft. Rosa read the article 3 times, and each time it made her feel smaller. Maybe the blogger was right. Maybe she was just a cleaning lady who had gotten lucky for one night. She called Alexander, crying, Maybe I should stop the lessons. People are saying I don't deserve this opportunity. Rosa, can I tell you something? Alexander said gently. When I was starting my career, a famous critic wrote that I played like a mechanical robot with no soul. That review almost made me quit. Music forever. Really? Rosa asked, surprised. Really, but my teacher told me something I'll never forget. He said, the people who matter will hear your heart. The people who don't hear your heart don't matter. Rosa, you have touched millions of people with your music. Don't let one bitter person take that away from you. Rosa felt a little better, but the criticism continued. Social media comments became nastier. Some people started calling her a fake and saying the whole thing was staged for publicity. One particularly hard day, Rosa was practicing at Alexander's studio when she broke down completely. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed. Everyone thinks I'm a fraud. Maybe they're right. Alexander sat quietly for a moment. Then he went to his computer and pulled up a video. I want you to watch this, he said. The video showed a young girl, maybe 8 years old, sitting at a piano in what looked like a school music room. She was playing Estrellita, Rosa's version of it. The girl was crying as she played, but they were tears of joy. My mom works 2 jobs and we can't afford piano lessons, the girl said to the camera. But I saw Rosa's video and it made me believe that maybe I could learn to play too. I've been practicing at school every day for 2 months. Rosa, if you're watching this, thank you for showing me that you don't need to be rich to make beautiful music. Alexander showed Rosa dozens of similar videos. Children from all over the world were learning Estrellita and posting their own versions. Adults were going back to instruments they had given up years ago. Music teachers were sharing Rosa's story to inspire their students. This is your real impact, Alexander said. Not the critics or the mean comments. This is what matters. Rosa felt something shift inside her. She realized that her journey wasn't just about her anymore. She was representing everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough, too old, or too poor to follow their dreams. I want to keep going, Rosa said firmly. Not for the fame or attention, but for all those people who see themselves in my story. Alexander smiled. Now you're ready for the next step. What's the next step? Rosa asked. We're going to perform together at the Chicago Symphony Hall, Alexander said. It's time to show the world what you've learned. Rosa felt her heart skip. A beat? Symphony Hall? That was where the greatest musicians in the world performed. Was she really ready for something that big? Looking at Alexander's confident smile, Rosa realized that ready or not, it was time to find out. The day of the Chicago Symphony Hall performance arrived faster than Rosa could have ever imagined. 6 months ago, she was just a hotel cleaning lady who occasionally hummed while she worked. Now she was backstage at one of the most prestigious concert halls in America, wearing a beautiful black dress that the Harmony Foundation had bought for her. Rosa's hands were shaking as she looked at herself in the mirror. Her daughter Carmen had flown in from Los Angeles and was sitting in the front row with Rosa's co-workers from the hotel. Miguel and Isabella were there too, along with Mrs. Garcia from her neighborhood. Even Mrs. Peterson, her supervisor, had come to support her. You look beautiful, Mom, Carmen said, appearing behind Rosa in the mirror. Grandma Carmen would be so proud of you right now. Rosa touched the small silver cross necklace that had belonged to her grandmother. I hope so. Mia, I'm so scared I might mess up in front of all these people. Mom, do you remember what you told me when I was nervous about my nursing exams? Carmen asked. You said that fear means you care about something important, and caring is what makes you special. Alexander knocked on the dressing room door. Rosa, are you ready? Rosa took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. They walked toward the stage together, and Rosa could hear the murmur of the audience. The concert hall was completely sold out. 2,200 people had come to see them perform. When Rosa peeked through the curtain, she saw faces of all ages and backgrounds. Some people had driven hours just to be there. Remember, Alexander said quietly, this isn't about proving anything to anyone. This is about sharing the gift your grandmother gave you. The lights dimmed and they walked onto the stage. The audience erupted in applause, and Rosa felt overwhelmed by the warmth and support. She could see Carmen in the front row, tears already streaming down her face. Miguel was holding up his phone, probably recording just like that first night. In the hotel ballroom, Alexander introduced Rosa to the audience. 6 months ago, I met someone who reminded me why I fell in love with music, he said into the microphone. Tonight, Rosa Martinez is going to share that same gift with all of you. They sat down at the beautiful grand piano, and Rosa placed her hands on the keys. For a moment, everything was silent. Then she began to play Estrellita, the same song her grandmother had taught her over 30 years ago. But this wasn't the simple version she had played that first night. Months of lessons with Alexander had given her the tools to express everything she felt. Her technique was still imperfect, but her heart was completely open. The melody soared through the concert hall, carrying with it all of Rosa's love for her grandmother, her gratitude for this incredible journey, and her hope for everyone who had ever been told their dreams were impossible. Alexander joined in, with harmonies that made Rosa's melody even more beautiful. They played together like they were having a conversation. Sometimes Rosa would lead, sometimes Alexander would lead, but they were always listening to each other. The audience was completely silent, mesmerized by what they were hearing. This wasn't just a performance, it was a story being told through music. Rosa's story, but also the story of anyone who had ever dared to dream. When they finished Estrellita, the applause was thunderous. But they weren't done yet. Alexander had arranged a special surprise. The Chicago Youth Orchestra, made up of kids from all over the city, joined them on stage for the second piece. Among the young musicians was the 8-year-old girl whose video Alexander had shown Rosa months earlier, little Ana from the South. Said had been practicing piano at her school every day since seeing Rosa's viral video. When she saw Rosa on stage, she started crying tears of joy. Together, Rosa, Alexander, and 30 young musicians performed a beautiful arrangement of Amazing Grace, a song that Rosa's grandmother used to sing while she cooked dinner. As they played, Rosa looked out at the audience and saw something incredible. People weren't just listening. They were crying, smiling, holding hands. An elderly man in the third row was mouthing the words, probably remembering his own grandmother. A young woman was recording on her phone, likely wanting to share this moment with someone special. Children were swaying to the music, completely captivated. When the music ended, the entire audience rose to their feet. The standing ovation lasted for 5 full minutes. Rosa had never experienced anything like it. She felt like her heart might burst from happiness, but the biggest surprise came after the performance. Dr. Jennifer Walsh, the director of the Harmony Foundation, walked onto the stage with a special announcement. "Tonight we witness something truly extraordinary," Dr. Walsh said to the audience. "Rosa Martinez has shown us that musical talent exists everywhere, in hotel hallways, in small apartments, in the hearts of people who thought their dreams were too big. That's why the Harmony Foundation is proud to announce the creation of the Rosa Martinez Music Program." Rosa's eyes went wide, a program named after her. Dr. Walsh continued, "This program will provide free music lessons and instruments to adults who never had the chance to learn music as children. Because it's never too late to discover your gift." The audience erupted in applause again. Rosa couldn't believe what she was hearing. Not only had her dream come true, but now she could help other people achieve their dreams too. Alexander stepped up to the microphone. "And I'm proud to announce that I'll be serving as the artistic director of this program. Rosa will be our first official teacher, helping other adults discover the joy of music." Rosa was crying now, but they were tears of pure joy. She thought about all the people who had written to her, sharing their own stories of rediscovered dreams. Soon she would be able to help them personally. After the concert, Rosa was surrounded by people wanting to meet her. But the conversation that meant the most to her was with little Ana, the 8-year-old pianist. "Miss Rosa," Ana said shyly, "I want to be just like you when I grow up." Rosa knelt down to Ana's level. "Mia, don't be like me. Be like yourself. Play with your own heart, and you'll be amazing." Ana's mother was standing nearby, crying. "Thank you," she whispered to Rosa. "You showed my daughter that our dreams matter too." Later that night, Rosa sat in her dressing room, still wearing her beautiful black dress. Carmen was helping her take off her stage makeup. "So what happens now, Mom?" Carmen asked. Rosa smiled. "Now I go back to work. But it's different work, work that feeds my soul." The next week, Rosa started her new job as a music teacher with the Rosa Martinez music program. Her first student was a 65-year-old grandfather who had always wanted to learn piano. Her second student was a 28-year-old single mother who had given up her musical dreams to raise her children. Rosa still lived in the same small apartment, still shopped at the same grocery store, and still had coffee with Mrs. Garcia every Sunday. But everything had changed because she had learned to believe in herself. 3 months later, Rosa received a letter that made her cry. It was from a woman in Brazil who had seen the concert video online. "Dear Rosa," the letter said, "I am 55 years old, and I thought it was too late for me to learn music. But watching you gave me courage. Yesterday I had my first guitar lesson. Thank you for showing me that dreams don't have expiration dates." Rosa folded the letter carefully and put it in her special box with all the others. She realized that this was her grandmother's real gift, not just the ability to play music, but the power to inspire others to find their own songs. Every evening, Rosa would sit at her old keyboard and play Estrellita, just like her grandmother had taught her. But now she played it with the knowledge that somewhere in the world, someone else was playing it too, discovering their own musical dreams for the first time.